I'm out here and it's pouring rain out, and how appropriate, because so many millennials and Gen Zers, so many people alive right now feel like they're in the thick of a storm. Today's topic is about leadership, specifically government and leadership. Trust in government and leadership right now is at an all-time low. Why is that? I read a book called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. I highly recommend this as a read. It's a breath of fresh air that talks about what actual leadership is, because to me, being a leader doesn't mean being a boss and just ordering people around and telling them what to do. It's accountability, and it's a responsibility towards people. And I think that's what a lot of modern government, what a lot of modern day leaders are completely missing. Specifically, there's a lot of things I have to talk about this. I'm going to back up a bit, and I'm going to talk about World War II history. I've always been a World War II history fanatic. I've studied it my whole life. And one of the biggest lessons I took from all of it is always be careful who you let your leader be. Because a long time ago, a guy named Adolf Hitler came along, and eventually after he took power, the Nazi Party was like a wildfire. First they burned down the people within their own country before they turned and started burning down others. A lot can happen based on who you choose to be your leader. So, with Leaders Eat Last, there was a very good lesson that I picked up from that book. One of the biggest lessons I picked up from Leaders Eat Last was the connection between status and responsibility. So, long time ago, hunter-gatherers would have leaders. But what would a leader look like back then? A leader back then would be someone, usually a man, who would accept responsibility for that tribe, for protecting that tribe, for managing that tribe. He wasn't above that tribe, he was responsible for them. He was accountable for them. And if you were a member of that tribe, and very often that leader would also join the hunts, and he brought back food and made sure that you ate first before, or he did, like it's within the title, Leaders Eat Last, well then of course you would love that person. If a lion or a wolf wandered into your group, and then he was the protector between you and that danger, well, that's the real origins of leadership. Accountability and responsibility. Putting people first. And from that, status would come to be. Because of course, who wouldn't give status to a person like that? That's where status came from back in the day, back in the hunter-gatherer days. The status was given to as a reward to those who accepted the real responsibility of leadership, of what good leadership exemplified. But today, we've got it ass backwards. Today, people seek out the status without the responsibility. How many leaders out there right now, if we were in a room together, would step between us and a wolf? If it strolled into the room, if a danger walked into the room, how many of those leaders would actually get between the danger and us and protect us? Probably not many. I actually imagine more modern day leaders would actually be willing to grab us and throw us to the wolf to protect themselves. But we as a society also give a lot of status to those kinds of people. Like, how many celebrities who have status would be willing to protect us, take responsibility and accountability? How many world leaders would be willing to directly protect us if we were in physical danger? Not many. So I think in our modern day society, we've got it ass backwards. We're looking for the status first and then the responsibility second. To me, that was the biggest lesson I picked up from that book. And that's what I fail to see in modern day government. In modern day government, pick whatever government you want. I see a lot of leaders who are more than willing to sacrifice their people for their own personal gain. There's no accountability for the well-being of others. there's no responsibility towards victims. However, I'm also of the belief that the time has come to stop looking at the problem. There are so many videos on YouTube, there's so many social media sources that talk about the problem. We know that we've got problems right now. We've got so many problems, we don't know what to do with them. But when I go looking for solutions, I usually don't seem to find many. So what I'd like to offer you right now is the time has come. If we want to move forwards into a new future, a lot of people are talking about how there's going to be a new renaissance, a new Hopecore renaissance coming about. But if we actually want to move towards that future and avoid a future where we just numb out and accept the problem as it is, if we actually want a nice, beautiful, glorious, golden future, then we have to stop looking at the problem and we have to start organizing the solution. So, part of what I would contribute to that is, what do we actually want from good leaders, specifically good government leaders, in the future? So I'll start things off. This is what I would look for in good leadership in the future. Principles that permeate partisan debates or political leanings. So, those principles would be putting citizens first. Frankly, I see some of the decisions that modern day leaders make, knowing that it's going to cause death and destruction. I don't think I'd be able to sleep at night. And frankly, I don't see how so many modern day leaders, with the decisions that they're making, are able to sleep at night. So many decisions are made for their own personal gain, are thoughtless. So many decisions are self-serving, or serve billionaires, or serve corporations, but they don't serve people. They directly sacrifice people, and, oh well, whatever, that's your problem. That's not a good leader. That is a self-serving individual who has no business being a leader. And for me, so my number one quality that I would look for in a leader is, in a real leader, is someone who puts people first. A leader who eats last. Someone who accepts the accountability that they are responsible for people and does their best to represent that. To represent the protection, to not just represent their own political leanings or their own parties or just the people who support them, but to do their best to represent everybody. And yeah, I get it. Leadership is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts. It's not always that simple. But that principle of putting people first, I think right now is just gone. The next quality that I would look for in a good leader is someone who is emotionally centered and psychologically self-aware. Can you imagine how different history might be if a guy like Adolf Hitler had gone to therapy? Now, I get it, not everybody agrees with therapy, but can you imagine how different life would be, how different history would be if Hitler had sat down just for 1 minute and thought, gee, I wonder if I have anger issues. Gee, I wonder if any of my beliefs are actually wrong. Maybe the Jews didn't cause all of our problems. Maybe I could be incorrect. Can you imagine how different it would be? It takes a truly humble individual to just stop and analyze whether or not their belief is correct. I open this up and I invite you to comment and to start thinking about the qualities of leadership that we want in the future. Because you know what? I don't want a dictator who just agrees with me and what I want. I want a leader who represents people, all people, even if I disagree with them. Because every person needs to have a voice. Every person needs to be represented to the best of our ability. It has to permeate political leanings. It has to put people first. The well-being, the safety, the protection, and the accountability of people first. And the next thing that I would want is exactly what I just said. A leader who is emotionally stable and isn't giving in to their own personal issues. Because I look around at a lot of the leaders right now, they're giving in to the emotions of power, needing power, and living their life on an emotional high of being in power, and they're just craving that. Or greed, just people who are more than willing to sacrifice other people in exchange for money when they've already got so much money that they don't know what to do with it. So those would be the two qualities that I look for in future leaders. What are some of the qualities that you look for in future leaders? I want to know. I want to stop looking at the problem and I want to start talking about the solution. Because if we want to move towards a better future, what could be a new Renaissance future, then we need to stop talking about the problem and start narrowing in on the solutions. It's very easy to give in to an algorithm that will feed what angers us, and it's a lot more difficult to take the high road of focusing in on the solution. But I invite you to do that. And I invite you to share what you think a good leader, what qualities, what principles a good leader in the future would have. I think to myself, what was the last actual good leader that we had that actually represented those values? And the only one that comes to mind right now is FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. So, however, being a good leader like that can be a tough and thankless job in a Hopecore future. So the question I'd also like to pose to you is, are we ready to reward leaders who carry that responsibility and that accountability? Are we ready to reward good behavior and stop rewarding bad behavior from leaders? Anyway, I'll leave you with that. All the best. Time to stop looking at the problem and start looking at the solutions. And I'll start off with that question. What qualities, what principles do you see in good leadership that you want to see in good leaders in the future? Because frankly, I'm tired of living in a world where there is a justified mistrust in those who lead us. Those who, frankly, don't deserve it.